At our 10-year vow renewal, my husband read a speech that made everyone cry. He thanked me for saving his life. But hours later, I found a text on his iPad from a woman named T. It said, "I can't believe you still have to pretend." I didn't say anything that night. But 2 weeks later, I invited everyone from the vow renewal to a surprise reveal party. What I showed them left the entire room silent, including him. I'm from Plano, Texas, born and raised. I'm 38 years old. My soon-to-be ex-husband, Rick, is 41. We were together for almost 14 years, married for 10. I thought he was my best friend. My family, my person. I met Rick when I was 24. I worked at this small Italian place near downtown. He came in with his coworkers one night after a company party. I still remember he ordered chicken Alfredo and barely touched it. He was shy, with a soft laugh. Different from the loud guys he was with. We talked. I gave him my number. 6 months later, we were living together. 2 years later, we got married. It wasn't a big wedding. Just close family and friends in my aunt's backyard. Rick wore a cheap suit, and I wore a dress from Macy's. It was still the happiest day of my life. The early years were tough. Rick struggled with depression. He had drinking problems. Some nights, he would just sit in the dark, drinking, crying, saying he hated himself. I stayed. I cleaned up after him. I made sure he got to his counseling appointments. I dragged him to rehab twice. I wasn't perfect, but I gave everything I had to him. I loved him. I really thought we were stronger because of it. When Rick suggested a 10-year vow renewal last year, I cried. He said he wanted to show the world how much he appreciated me. He told me, "You saved my life, babe. I want everyone to know." We picked out a venue, the same community center where my little cousin had her sweet 16. It wasn't fancy, but it felt right. We invited about 50 people. Family, friends, even some of Rick's coworkers. It was a beautiful night. There were white roses everywhere. Little string lights. A cheap DJ playing our old songs. My mom made homemade tamales for the food table. It felt like home. It felt real. Rick stood up to say his vows, holding a crumpled piece of paper in his hand. He talked about the dark years, about how he almost lost everything, about how I never gave up on him. He said, "Without you, I wouldn't be here. You didn't just save my life. You gave me one." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. My best friend Shelby was bawling. Rick's brother wiped his eyes. Even my tough-as-nails dad nodded with pride. I felt like maybe, just maybe, all the hard years were worth it. After the party, we went home. Rick passed out drunk from all the champagne and whiskey. I stayed up, cleaning up dishes, putting our gifts in the corner. His iPad was on the couch. The screen lit up. A message. "T, I can't believe you still have to pretend. Soon it'll all be different." My heart stopped. I picked up the iPad. There it was. A full-blown affair. Hundreds of messages. Pictures. Voice notes. Plans. Her name was Tessa. She worked at his office. Mid-20s, from what I could tell. Long black hair, big fake lashes, tight dresses. The kind of girl Rick used to joke he wasn't good enough for. The messages weren't just sexual, though there was plenty of that, too. They were emotional. Real. He told her he loved her. That he hated pretending around me. That once the time was right, they would start fresh. They made fun of me. Tessa sent him a picture of a cheap wedding ring and said, "Bet hers looks just like this, LOL." Rick replied, "Worse." I should have woken him up, thrown the iPad at his head, screamed. But something inside me just died. Quietly. Instead, I took screenshots. Hundreds of them. I emailed them to myself. Then I put the iPad back on the couch and went to bed. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I made him pancakes like nothing happened. Kissed his cheek. Told him I loved him. And I planned. I made a guest list. Everyone who came to the Vow Renewal. I booked the same community center. Paid cash. I sent out invites. Surprise reveal party. You won't want to miss this. Most people thought it was going to be a pregnancy announcement. Some joked that we were finally moving out of Texas. Rick was clueless. He thought I was planning a small thank you party for everyone who came. The night came. I wore a plain black dress. No makeup. Rick wore a navy blue suit and kept asking me, "What's the big secret?" I smiled and said, "You'll see." The community center looked the same. White roses. String lights. Cheap DJ. Everyone was smiling, laughing, hugging. I waited until everyone had a drink in their hand. Then I took the mic. "Thank you for coming tonight," I said. My voice was calm. Too calm. "You were all there 2 weeks ago when Rick told me, and you, that I saved his life." People nodded. Smiled. I smiled too. "But tonight," I said, "I'm here to show you how I saved myself." I clicked the remote in my hand. The projector screen lit up. The first text, "I can't believe you still have to pretend. Soon it'll all be different." The room got very, very quiet. I clicked again. "After she's out of the way, we can start our real life." Rick again. "She's so clueless it's almost sad." Gasps. Rick started moving toward me. I stepped away. "Let's keep going," I said. I showed the pictures. The selfies. The bed photos. The screenshots of them trash-talking me. Rick's brother stood up and shouted, "Are you kidding me, Rick?" My best friend Shelby started crying. Mark, Rick's coworker, turned pale. "That's Tessa," he muttered. Rick finally found his voice. "It's not what it looks like." I looked him dead in the eye. "It's exactly what it looks like." I handed out white envelopes to everyone. Inside was a copy of the screenshots. No explanations. Just the truth. People started leaving. Some stared at Rick with pure disgust. Some hugged me. Some couldn't even look me in the eye. Rick tried to talk to me. Grabbed my hand. I pulled away. I turned off the mic, picked up my purse, and walked out. I filed for divorce the next morning. In Texas, infidelity can affect settlements. I had receipts. Rick tried to call, text, even wrote letters. He showed up at my work crying once. I never said a word back. He moved in with his brother. Last I heard, Tessa dumped him a month later for a guy her own age. Good luck, Rick. After I filed for divorce, things got ugly fast. Rick didn't take it well. At first, he tried the crying, the begging. He sent flowers to my job. Left handwritten notes on my car windshield. Had his brother call me to just talk it out. I ignored everything. Then the anger started. He started trashing me to everyone. Telling people I overreacted. That it was just texts. That I had always been cold and pushed him away. Some of our mutual friends, people I had known for a decade, started to pull back from me. I heard through the grapevine that Rick was spinning it like I had been neglecting him for years, and poor him, he just found comfort with Tessa. It hurt more than I want to admit. I realized real fast who was on my side and who wasn't. But it got worse. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after the reveal party, I got a call from my work's HR department. Rick had filed a fake anonymous complaint, claiming I was stealing company time and harassing coworkers. They knew it was fake, luckily. I had proof, emails and time logs, and my boss basically laughed it off. But still, it was humiliating. Having to sit there in a conference room and defend myself against total lies. I knew it was Rick. He wanted to drag me down because he couldn't stand that I got the last word. I decided to hit back, quietly. I hired a good lawyer. Not just a divorce lawyer, a pit bull. We subpoenaed Rick's work phone records. Guess what we found? Rick had been using company time and company resources to text, call, and even send explicit pictures to Tessa from his work phone. That was a direct violation of his company's policy. I didn't even have to lift a finger. Rick was fired within a month. Tessa? She dumped him right after he lost his job. Turns out, she wasn't interested in a broke, unemployed 41-year-old man living on his brother's couch. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You'd think Rick would give up after that, right? Wrong. He tried to drag out the divorce. At the settlement hearings, he cried poor mouth. Said he had nothing left. That he needed spousal support from me because I destroyed his reputation. Imagine the audacity. Luckily, my lawyer tore him apart. We had the evidence, the infidelity, the harassment, the false claims. Rick ended up getting nothing. No alimony. No house. No car. I kept everything. But there was one final twist I didn't see coming. 2 weeks after the settlement, I found out I was being audited by the IRS. Somehow, my last 2 years of taxes had been flagged for errors. It didn't take long to figure out why. Rick had anonymously reported me for tax fraud. He knew just enough about my finances to create trouble. It was another fake claim. It took weeks of meetings, paperwork, stress, but in the end, the IRS cleared me. They even hinted that if I wanted, I could press charges for making false claims. I didn't. I realized by then, Rick wasn't even worth the extra time. He had already lost everything. He had become a walking, breathing cautionary tale. And me? I was finally free. I thought it was over after the audit. I was wrong. Rick's spiral kept going, and he decided if he couldn't hurt me directly, he'd try to hurt my reputation instead. About a month after the divorce was finalized, one of my old high school friends, Tracy, called me out of nowhere. She sounded weird, hesitant. She said, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but there's some stuff going around about you on Facebook." I didn't even have Facebook anymore, deleted it after the Vow Renewal mess. But Tracy sent me screenshots. Rick had made a fake Facebook account under a woman's name, claiming he was an old coworker of mine. He posted in a local Plano community group, warning people that I was a scammer, a homewrecker, and a gold digger who ruins good men's lives. He even photoshopped fake text messages that made it look like I had cheated on him. It was crazy stuff. Luckily, anyone who actually knew me knew it was a lie. But strangers? Some of them believed it. I got weird messages. One woman even called my work to report me. I had to sit down with my boss again and explain the situation. At that point, enough was enough. I contacted a lawyer specializing in defamation. We traced the fake account straight back to Rick's IP address. My lawyer sent him a cease and desist letter, warning him that if he didn't shut it down immediately, we would file a civil lawsuit. Rick took the page down within hours. Pathetic. By then, 6 months had passed since the vow renewal. I thought maybe, just maybe, Rick had finally crawled back under whatever rock he came from. Then something happened I didn't expect. I found out Rick was dating again. And not just dating, he was engaged to some poor woman named Candace. Early 30s. Single mom of 2. I didn't know her personally, but Plano's a small enough place that people talk. Apparently, Rick was telling her he had been deeply wronged by his crazy, abusive ex-wife, and that he was just a simple man trying to heal. Sound familiar? Part of me wanted to warn Candace. Part of me thought, not my circus, not my monkeys. But then I heard he was moving into her house. Moving in with her kids. And I thought, she deserves to know who she's really letting in. I didn't do anything rash. I didn't egg his car. I didn't call her screaming. Instead, I made a quiet plan. I printed out the full folder of screenshots, the legal letters, the defamation evidence, everything. I wrote a calm, clear letter. Dear Candace, you don't know me, but I know the man you're engaged to very well. This is not coming from a place of bitterness. This is coming from a place of warning. Attached is evidence of Rick's behavior over the past year. Please look through it and make your own decision. I wish you and your children safety and peace. I put it all in a plain brown envelope. I didn't put my name on it. I left it on her front porch one evening, right under her welcome mat. And then I walked away. 2 weeks later, Rick's engagement was off. Candace threw him out. Apparently, she kicked him out while he was at work, packed all his things in trash bags, and changed the locks. Rick tried to spin it like she was crazy, too. But nobody was buying it anymore. Not even Rick's own family. After Candace kicked Rick out, he tried to come crawling back to me. Yes, seriously. One night around 9 p.m., I heard knocking at my door. Not tapping, pounding. I looked through the peephole. It was Rick. He looked awful. Hair a mess, eyes red, clothes wrinkled. He reeked of beer even through the door. He started shouting, "Please. I'm sorry. I have nothing left. You're the only one who ever loved me." I didn't answer. I just sat on my couch, staring at the door. He kept banging, begging. After a few minutes, I picked up my phone. I called the cops. When they showed up, I watched through the blinds as Rick tried to argue with them, crying like a baby. He got cuffed and hauled away for public intoxication. It was the last time I saw him face to face. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. From Rick. Handwritten. It said he was in court-ordered rehab, that he realized how badly he had messed up. That he forgave me for my part in what happened. Forgave me. Forgave me. I almost laughed out loud. I didn't reply. I didn't hate Rick. I didn't even really pity him. I just didn't care anymore. In the end, I wasn't perfect either. I spent years loving someone who showed me over and over who he really was, and I kept choosing to believe in a version of him that didn't exist. I wasted years of my life trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. That's on me. I'll own that. But I also saved myself. When it mattered most, I didn't stay quiet. I didn't let him rewrite the story. I stood up, told the truth, and let it all burn. And when the ashes cleared, Rick had nothing left, and I had my freedom. Today, I have a small apartment in town. Just me and my dog, Willow. I'm rebuilding my life, slow but sure. Real friends. Real peace. And every time I walk past a white rose bush, I smile. Not because I think of him, but because I think of the night I stopped being his angel and started being my own damn savior.